Kant did not believe you had to sacrifice for God or for your fellow men. He believed you had to sacrifice yourself. Sacrifice your values, your self-interest, your happiness, yourself, because they are your values, because they are your self-interest, your happiness, yourself. Sacrifice them to morality, i.e. to the nominal dimension, the noumenal world, i.e. to nothing knowable or conceivable to man. Sacrifice yourself to the noumenal world, the world, again, which we cannot know and can never grasp and can't get a hold of. Therefore, sacrifice, as far as man living on this earth is concerned, sacrifice to nothing. You just sacrifice. That's Kant's ethics. To achieve the virtue of sacrifice, you must want to live. You must love it. You must burn with passion for this earth and for all the splendor that it can give you. You must feel the twist of every knife as it slashes your desires away from your reach and drains your love out of your body. It is not mere death that the morality of sacrifice holds out to you as an ideal, but death by slow torture. Thank you, Immanuel Kant, for removing the idea of gain from virtue. Thank you, Immanuel Kant, for creating a nominal world which we can't know about, and for explaining it to us. Nazism, communism, fascism, and the totalitarian Islam we're dealing with today all come from Karl Marx. And Karl Marx was the first man to put Kant fully into gear, so to speak. So that's just about all we have that we need to do. I didn't even read a quarter of the quotes here. So Mr. Heltzerman and company, if you're still interested in knowing more about Kant and his problems, there are videos on the ARI website, and there are lots of books by objectivists. This is a cheap cop-out to say that because Mr. Cropper isn't a specialist on Kant, you're not going to listen to anything about it. I'm not a specialist, but other people have written lots of stuff on it. So if you really are curious, don't just cop out and say Mr. Cropper didn't explain everything in the world and therefore you're not interested in the question anymore. If you're interested in the question, go find out about Kant from objectivist sources by people who know more about it than I do. Like I said here, there's dozens of samples in the lexicon that will give you, directions, all kinds of different writing you can get on Kant. But it's a cheap cop-out to say that because Mr. Cropper didn't, explain everything 100%, or whatever, this rabid skepticism, or Mr. Cropper didn't read from Immanuel Kant's work itself, therefore everything he said is willy-nilly, and or Mr. Cropper only read a little bit of Kant's work, the first few chapters or whatever. He didn't finish Kant's book, or he didn't finish all of Kant's book, or whatever did you come up with. Immanuel Kant's philosophy is the basis of the modern world. It caused all the blood in the 20th century, and it's going to continue to cause more. It's going to bring us a dark age if we don't defeat Islam, because that's the next stronghold. So I'm going to read one last quote, and this is a little bit about Marxism. This is from Leonard Peacock's Ominous Parallels. There are two different kinds of subjectivism, distinguished by their answers to the question, whose consciousness creates reality? Now, Kant rejected the older version of these two, which was the view that each man's feelings create a private universe for him. So, I have my own individual reality that y'all can't know, and Kant rejected that. Instead, Kant ushered in the era of social subjectivism, the view that it is not the consciousness of individuals, but of groups that creates reality. Reality is created by what whole groups of people together believe. In Immanuel Kant's system, mankind as a whole is the decisive group. What creates the phenomenal world, the world of physics and the things around us, our senses, the real world. What creates the real world is not the idiosyncrasies of particular individuals, but the mental structure common to all men. So the world around us is created by the fact that everybody agrees or believes. It's a collective delusion, according to Kant. Later on, philosophers accepted Kant's fundamental approach, but they carried it a step further. Can you see where this is going? If many claimed the mind's structure is a brute given which cannot be explained, as Kant had said. He said we have our categories in our mind. We have a specific way that our categories work. We can't explain them. We can't get past them. We can't get underneath them because all of reality is shaped by them. We can't explain them any further than just to say, here they are. And how Kant even got to them, he'll never tell us because it's a fantasy. It's an arbitrary fantasy. But, anyways, if, many claimed, the mind structure is a brute given which cannot be explained, then there is no reason why all men should have the same mental structure. And how would we even investigate that? If we can't even know anything about our mind, how would we investigate the difference between this mind and that mind? And what would we measure them against? Reality? Would we go and say this mind is correct and that mind is not? And we would measure it against what? Reality? We don't know reality because our mind's inventing reality. Our mind's inventing these two minds that we're talking about. You can't know anything. You're disconnected from reality. There's no reason why mankind should not be splintered into competing groups. Right? This group has a set of beliefs that's not compatible with that group. So we can't lump mankind together anymore. We have to have individual groups. Not individual men, but groups of men. Competing groups, each defined by its own distinctive type of consciousness, each vying with the others to capture and control reality. The first world movement thus to pluralize the Kantian position was Marxism, which propounded a social subjectivism in terms of competing economic classes. On this issue, as on many others, the Nazis follow the Marxists, but they substitute race for economic class. Anybody who's not convinced at this point that Immanuel Kant's philosophy has something to do with the modern world, whatever. Take it easy. Have a nice life. Not interested in hearing from you.